of none other than Sinn Féin. In doing this, they created the seat. This is how close it was. The Conservatives got 271 seats. The Liberals, using Sinn Féin, got 272. That's how close it was. The only reason the second general election actually happened was because Edward VII said you cannot curtail the powers of the House of Lords without putting it to the people. So to do it, you have to put it via general election. That's why there was two general elections. Now, the interesting part about this is that George V, for whatever reason, did create them peers. And that second chamber of peers started to control everything else the rest of the peers were doing. If you look at the 1946 Parliament Act, which is the next one on from this one, you'll find that the House of Lords was then contained within only 3 sessions. They could only look at anything. And I don't know if you know this, but none of the amendments are actually looked at. I don't know if you probably don't know this, but the amendments actually just get tagged on. It's all, you can go and find this stuff out here, I don't need me to tell you. But there's some interesting words in here, because one of the things it says here, money bill having been passed by the House of Commons and sent up to the House of Lords at least 1 month before the end of the session is not passed by the House of Lords without amendment within 1 month after it has been sent up to the House. They do write some bollocks, these people. I could write this in a sentence. Up to the House of Bill. The bill shall, unless the House of Commons direct to the contrary, be presented to His Majesty to become an Act of Parliament on the Royal Assent being signified, notwithstanding that the House of Lords have not consented to the bill. Now, if you don't understand what the word notwithstanding means, it means in spite of. Complete override of the House of Lords on money bills. If you carry on through the Act, you'll find that for all bills, whether they be money, public or private, in this document. It gets better. If you go on the House of Parliament site, if you go on the OPSI site, I don't know if you've ever done this, but go on the one that's called Bills Going Through Parliament. Okay, just type that into Google. Bills going through Parliament. And you will get a list of all the bills going through Parliament as of now. Yeah? And they've all got a certain wording at the top of them. And what you'll find that wording says is this. It says, be enacted. Now, it says that because if you write at the top of something and you give it to someone saying, be enacted, there's not much of a choice, is there? Now, I could be just saying that because the words, but if you actually look at what they put at the beginning of it, and the second paragraph down, you'll see it says, be it therefore enacted. Do you know what the word therefore means? If you put therefore before something, it means that you've already logically concluded it's going to happen. This was a royal assent override. Whether you believe it or not, it was. When you suddenly realise that now the speaker's certificate is actually good enough as royal assent. It basically is the royal assent. So when you see this that's written in the back of here, it says, any certificate of the Speaker of the House of Commons given under this Act shall be conclusive for all purposes and shall not be questioned in any court of law. In their own words, in black and white. I ask you, what does that create? A dictatorship. In their own words. I will leave this here, because I've got many copies. Like I said, this is going up on the internet. It needs to go up on the internet, because you people need to look at this. You really do. That's just one example. I can give you hundreds. TPUC.org. Yeah, that's our website. When you start to look at this stuff, you'll suddenly realise what you've been subscribing to. And you'll realise that what was set up to protect you, according to them, is absolutely the complete opposite. And the only way that you will ever do anything to change this situation is when you learn to say no. And you stand by it. And you unite. When you suddenly put down the divisions of colour, speech, where we come from, what we look like, how much money we've got. When these divisions have gone, then you will become a people of an island again. Politics comes from one very specific hierarchical system. And politics was devised to divide people. That's all it was ever devised for, was to divide you. Most of the things that have core belief systems create with them create divides. What we need to do is bridge them divides. In learning to say that word, you will start to bridge them divides. And you start to unsubscribe from this core belief system. You end up quite in a very odd position. You are actually a non-believer and a believer at the same time. And that's a very hard thing to be, because you're going to get tugged from both directions. And I know how frustrating it is. I know how hard it is. I would like to leave you with one thing. And I would like to, just this one thing. And this is one of my last talks. I have to write that book. It's very specific now. And I'm on a deadline. They've put me on a deadline because it's the only way to get me to do it. I actually want to go out on the tools. I want to go and build roofs again. I'm fed up with this crap. Because I know how simple it is to do now. It really is that simple. We will keep producing evidence for you on the TPUC. We will keep doing it, and we will keep putting that evidence out. We have accounts now with... We'll keep doing it. Whether you subscribe to it or not, doesn't matter. It will be there for you to look at. Because once you start to uncover corruption, you know that it hides in the shadows of every one of these corporations. And it's the shadows that have to be illuminated. And it's the light bringer they fear. The one who illuminates it. And all potentially, you're all the light bringers. You're the ones who are going to illuminate this corruption just by looking at your own councils. It only takes one of you. No, they're a group of people who like shoving light bulbs up their arse. When you look at this, we have one thing to do, and this is all we have to do. You were born free. From your first breath, you were free. All of you. Every single one of you. You've just been contained within a belief system that you're now going to break away from. But the gift of freedom belongs to everybody without exception. In these millennium years, let history show that we helped make it so. Thank you.